Today is Saturday, December 5th, and it's a great day to be a sports fan because you're listening to the number one podcast in all of Potomac, Maryland. I'm here alongside Sammy and Ori, and we're going to talk some baseball, we're going to talk some football, we're going to talk some basketball, we might even talk some cricket. Just kidding, we're not going to talk cricket. I am sorry. I am sorry for all the cricket fans that I offended, but that's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen, you know?
Hey, one day, though, cricket's an interesting sport, you know? As a baseball guy, obviously, I went to England a few years ago, and I was watching people play cricket. So confused. It blew my mind.
Really?
They were just running back and forth, and, these things were happening. And since then, I've, done some research and tried to figure out how it works. And it's a very interesting sport. I still don't really know much about it, but, cricket's cool. Maybe we should cover cricket someday.
If you want to be confused, you should watch Finnish baseball. But
what is that? Finnish baseball?
John Boy did a breakdown on it. It's a very weird, twisted, warped way of playing baseball that a guy from Finland went to America, watched a baseball game, took notes, came back, told all his friends about it, and they played, and he's like, wait, this is nothing like it is in America. But I guarantee you guys, this is a promise. If the show gets to 99 episodes, on our 99th episode, all we're going to do is talk about cricket. That's all we're going to do. Just talk about cricket.
Is that a promise? Or are we actually going to do that?
You know, I'm actually going to expand it just all obscure sports. We're going to have an obscure sports episode. But this is our first time really getting to talk for a while because we had the Brennan Davis interview on Wednesday.
Oh, thank you so much to Brennan again for coming on. Great interview.
Fantastic interview. You guys should check that out if you haven't. You guys go to our YouTube channel, Chat from the Cheap Seats. It's on there, or you can just go to Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you get your podcast. But, that was a fantastic interview.
It really was.
And this is normally the part of the show where I turn to Ori and I say, Ori, how are you doing today?
I am doing pretty good. I did a lot of homework today, so I've been pretty productive. But today is actually also a sad day because I've been playing this computer game, and it's a very, very long game, and I've spent 8 hours, and I'm probably there's probably a quarter left, and I've realized that I cannot win. So I've basically just thrown away 8 hours of my life.
Oh man.
What do you mean you realize you cannot win? You can't beat it? You can't beat it, or it's physically impossible to beat it?
No, you play against other people, and they're just way ahead of me.
Oh, okay. What game is it called?
Civilization 6.
Civilization 6. Free ad.
Yeah, there you go. But other than that, I've been pretty good. Sammy, how you been?
Well, I've also, not today, but this week, I've been on the grind. And I was telling you guys a little bit before the show with MLB The Show franchise. And, I've always been into franchise, but I've been really into this mode with the Cubs. And it's just kind of funny. You get to see these alternate realities. And I was telling you guys before the show, Jose Quintana, who's been so bad, 4+ ERA every year. This year he was hurt. He broke his thumb or something when he was washing the dishes. It was a disaster. But he's a Cy Young contender, and you just get to see all these you get to see all these crazy things. I'm trying to think. There are just some wild things that happen to players. You're really? How did he get good? So, but yeah, that's. Besides that, just homework and music, a lot of that. And, yeah, I can't believe it's already December. That's kind of wild.
Yeah,
That's
time
crazy.
is absolutely flying.
Yeah.
But we got a good show for you guys today. Let's start it off with possibly the biggest news. We had the John Wall going over to the Rockets. Russell Westbrook comes back to the Wizards. Jack, I want to ask you first. First reactions, first thoughts. Who won this trade?
So, as many of you know, I am New York sports, right? But a lot of people don't know is that I used to be a huge Wizards fan. Now, not huge, but I'd say I was definitely a big Wizards fan. And as I've started listening to more and more New York sports radio, I would hear them talk about the Knicks so much that I kind of convinced myself I was a Knicks fan. But in reality, this trade made me realize that I'm a Wizards fan because
I smell bandwagon.
It's not a bandwagon. Can I tell you why? 'Cause I think the Wizards lost this trade, but I think the Wizards here, what they did, trading away John Wall, I understand that he didn't want to be here anymore. So I get why they traded him. But I was devastated because I'm just going through my mind, going through all the memories I had of him hitting that shot in Game 6 against the Celtics, him winning the slam dunk contest. And that's what made me realize that I am a Wizards fan because I don't get that emotional about the Knicks. But with the Wizards, I was emotional. And the reason why I think the Wizards lost this trade is because of the number 1 draft pick they gave away. Now, I get that it's top 5 protected.
It's lottery protected.
It's lottery protected. I thought it was top 5 protected.
I think
No.
it was lottery.
It's
read
lottery
that.
it was
protected.
lottery.
Okay. So I get that. But still, like, if you're a team, let's say Russell Westbrook plays really well, right? I don't think the Wizards aren't going to contend, you know? Like, they're not going to have a chance to contend for a championship. That's not going to happen. They don't have enough pieces.
I think they're close, and
I don't think they're close.
this trade is very interesting. One of the more interesting trades that's happened because it's it kind of happened a few years ago with Russell Westbrook and Chris Paul, a guard swap, and then it happens again. Russell Westbrook for for John Wall, and it's just interesting because they're two very similar players, guys who are pretty good scorers. Obviously, Westbrook is one of the great scorers who can pass the ball very well. And it's weird. I was looking at their contracts, almost identical. 3 years, $133 million for Russ. 3 years, $132 million for John Wall. And it makes it just this really interesting trade. And I think you can't say who won until we see what happens, because John Wall hasn't played a game since 2018. That's a huge factor. And coming back from injury, a lot of players respond differently. Some players will come back and they'll be amazing. They'll even be better than they were. Some players really regress, and we have no idea what it's going to be for John Wall. If John Wall is as good as he was when he got injured, I think the Rockets win this trade because they get a first-round pick, lottery protected, but I still think that's, if you get that, it's a good thing. And John Wall, if he's good, Rockets win. But if John Wall struggles, obviously, it's going to be a huge blow for the Rockets because Russell Westbrook was a guy who, I see Ori just sneezed there if you're watching on YouTube. But
bless you.
It will be a huge blow for the Rockets to give up Russell Westbrook because, about the conflict between him and James Harden when it came to scoring the ball, but he was still like a third-team player this year. Like he was still really, really good, and it's a gamble for both sides. And from the Wizards' perspective, like Jack was saying, it's heartbreaking if you're a Wizards fan because this guy's been there, for a lot of young fans their entire life. John Wall has been the guy in Washington, and it's he doesn't want to be there, and you understand that. But as a fan, it just breaks your heart. And now, a question I want to ask you guys. I was talking earlier about, the conflict between Harden and Russell Westbrook in Houston. Do you think that can kind of get resurrected? Because Beal is also a scorer. Do you think they're going to be competing interests, or do you think it's going to work out better than the Harden-Westbrook?
Well, this is my thoughts on, first of all, the trade. I think the Wizards win this trade regardless. John Wall can be a good player, and they still win this trade. The reason I'm saying this is because, first of all, Russell Westbrook, he needs the ball, right? And Beal is a very, very good off-ball scorer. He doesn't necessarily need the ball to succeed, and I think them pairing up is going to be really good. So I don't think there's going to be any drama in between them. I think they'll work out pretty great together as teammates. The reason I think that the Wizards are winning this trade is because, you talk about John Wall not playing for so long. That's a factor that even if John Wall comes back and starts playing well, that's part of the trade. They're trading away a risk factor in John Wall, and they're gaining a X factor in Russell Westbrook. So, I think this is a clear win for the Wizards. It's lottery protected. So even though they do give away first-round pick, we know first-round picks in the NBA aren't, as valuable as they are in some other leagues, especially because it is lottery protected. I think definitely the winners are the Wizards. But kind of going back to your question, Sammy, I definitely think that Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal are going to mesh well together because, as I said before, Bradley Beal is a really good off-ball scorer, unlike John Wall, who needs the ball. And, what's going to be interesting is to see, when John Wall comes back, first of all, if he plays well off the injury, but also, Russell Westbrook needs the ball to score. Harden needs the ball to score, so there was conflict there, obviously. But John Wall also needs the ball to score. He's a person that, wants to take the ball up the floor. He needs to be handling it to be a good player and to let him succeed. That's why the pairing with Bradley Beal was pretty good. But now that he's with James Harden, I'm wondering if there's going to be some conflict there because, as we all know, Harden needs the ball to score. He shoots a lot. He'll miss a lot, but he'll also make a lot. And then score a lot because of that. So it's going to be interesting to see if there's any conflict between John Wall and Harden. I think that's probably going to happen.
I disagree. I think John Wall is, his main thing of his game, he's a playmaker. A few years ago, he had like 3 straight years where he averaged 10-plus assists. With a guy like Harden who will shoot anytime you give him the ball, basically. He's not the playmaker type of guy. He's a shooter. I think that works well. And I think from an emotional perspective, for the Wizards especially, it's kind of a tough trade to take in. But from a purely success-driven and business perspective, I think it works out really well for both sides at the end of the day. Russell Westbrook is definitely going to be good. There's no question about that. John Wall, if he is good, I think that's going to work out well for the Rockets. It is a bit of a risk because of the injury stuff. And one more question before we move on. Wizards. Are they a playoff team next year? Because they made some nice additions. Russell Westbrook, obviously. Denny Advia, still working on the pronunciation of that name. Bradley Beal, Thomas Bryant, one of the bright young centers in the league. And Davis Bertans, who is 6th man of the year contender. Do you think the Wizards are a playoff team next year?
I don't know. It'll be tough. I think Westbrook is going to have to play at his best. Beal is going to have to step up. Those stars are going to have to take over for them to, be contenders. But if they're going to want to make the playoffs, those young guys that you mentioned are going to have to ball out. Denny Avadia, that's how you say it.
Is that how you say it? Okay, I'm sorry.
Avadia.
Oh, no.
I know because,
it's a tough one.
He's my Israeli man. But yeah, so those young guys are going to have to step up for them to make the playoffs.
Absolutely.
Whether they do or not is going to be solely based on how the younger guys play.
Now, my thing, though, is I just think Houston, because even if the Rockets, or if it turns into a lottery pick and it's lottery protected, that still turns into 2 second-round picks. And I just think Houston won. I think the Rockets got rid of a disgruntled player in Russell Westbrook who was not willing to stay in Houston. So, his trade value was not high whatsoever for a similar type player, and they got a first-round pick out of it. And the Wizards may or may not be marginally better in the short term, but it's not enough. And I just think Russell Westbrook is such a ball-dominant, and I just think he's a selfish player, to be frank.
Yeah, that's fair.
And he's a poor shooter. But, it will be fun to watch.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think there's a lot of situations because the Wizards do have this nice young core, and it doesn't take too much to get to the playoffs. And maybe, there's only 3 years left on this Westbrook deal that we were talking about earlier. So maybe it's a thing where he's just there for the short term to get them some playoff experience. Because in the NBA, it doesn't take much to get into the playoffs. You can be sub 500 and easily make the playoffs. I think that's kind of the goal because you have a lot of young players. Thomas Bryant, Bradley Beal is, I wouldn't say young anymore. Denny Advia, I'm still working on it, whatever. But I think you want to get these younger guys playoff experience right off the bat, and that's what Westbrook is going to do. He's going to propel them there. I think Wall is just too much of a risk with the whole injury stuff. But if he's good, it works out for the Rockets, and it could be a trade where both sides benefit. We also had some other big NBA news this week. The Lakers making 2 big but predictable moves. They extend their 2 big guys, AD and LeBron. Anthony Davis re-signing on a 5-year, $190 million deal, and LeBron inking a 2-year extension. Now, the Lakers made some crazy additions. Dennis Schroeder, Montrezl Harrell. And can anyone beat them? Because you're a championship team, and then you get better. Is there anyone that can contend with these, seemingly dominant Lakers?
I mean, it's crazy. They've really bought into, if you're not getting better, you're getting worse. I think that's what they've really thought about coming into this free agency period. Keeping their superstars, obviously, in Anthony Davis and LeBron, that was key. But then, having those additions that, they didn't need to win last year. So it's gonna be really, really cool. At this point, I think they're the clear favorites.
Oh my God, of course.
I think LeBron is going to show that when he has a great team, he can also three-peat. So I think they'll definitely be contenders. And, I think they're my pick for the finals.
And what I find fascinating is that LeBron lined it up with the 2-year extension so that when he is a free agent again, guess who's going to be entering the draft?
His
Bronny.
son?
Bronny, because by then, that is assuming that by then high school players will be allowed to go straight to the NBA.
I would assume.
I think that's gonna get done before then.
Wow.
Wouldn't that be so fun to watch if Bronny and LeBron James were on the same team? And I want to see LeBron. I want to see LeBron get to 6 rings so bad because I am not a LeBron hater. Up until recently, I thought MJ was the GOAT. Now I'm still trying to decide what I think about the ring and what that means for his legacy. But I want the greatest player in basketball history to be from our generation. I don't know about you guys, but that's just how I feel because I never got to watch Michael Jordan play. I want to see, because if LeBron gets to 6 rings, would you agree, Sammy, that he is the greatest of all time? Because then that kind of refutes the Michael Jordan winning argument.
It's tough to dispute if he gets 6, but there are always arguments, and there are always going to be people on both sides.
True, but
as good as LeBron is, I think there are always going to be the haters, and there are always going to be the people that say it wasn't MJ, and that's just a fact of it's a law of nature. It's a fact of life. But yeah, it would be awesome to see them play on the same team together, kind of like if Ken Griffey Jr. and Ken Griffey played on the same team, except obviously LeBron is one of the greatest of all time, and Ken Griffey was good, but
Ken Griffey,
senior.
Don't sell Ken Griffey Senior short. He's a nice player, but I think right now, and Ori, let me know if you agree with this because I know that you are the sole 100% LeBron is the GOAT even before the 4th ring. So let me know. I want to hear your thoughts on this in a little bit, but I would say right now, just public perception wise, I'd say it's very close between who thinks LeBron is the GOAT, who thinks MJ is the GOAT. I would say probably the majority of people right now think that LeBron is the GOAT.
I don't know. I think most people right now, if I had to give like a split, I'd say to be honest, like a 60-40, 65-35 to MJ. I think a lot of people are.
It's much closer than that.
I would think it would be closer. I think maybe like 55% to LeBron, but that's kind of irrelevant. What I was saying is I think if LeBron gets to 6, it would be like 85, 90. You're always going to have the irrational fans, but like if you take them out of the equation and just like public perception wise, I'd say unless you're like an old man or like you're irrational, I don't think many people will be arguing that LeBron is the GOAT. And I want that. I want the greatest player ever to be from our generation. I think that'd be a cool thing. And if LeBron gets 6, even if LeBron gets 5, I think it's like 60-40 LeBron, maybe even more. But if LeBron gets 6, like the argument's over. It's done. There's not.
Are the Lakers in position to repeat? I'm thinking of the Eastern Conference right now, and I'm like, who's going to compete with them?
I don't think anyone can.
Maybe the Heat.
New York
they made a nice run. I don't know if they're for real or not. Like they could do it over the course of a season and do it again in the playoffs. I don't think the Heat are going to really be there. The Bucks. I don't think they're all that great.
The Bucks proved to be a little bit overrated. I feel
they were. They're Giannis and Chris Middleton basically. That's
and the Lopez brothers.
Yeah, it's when you get down to it. It's
no, you're right.
Without those two guys, they're not a playoff team. No way.
You're right. Now, Sammy, you had an eventful week, correct? With the Cubs and
I
Kyle.
guess I did. So if you guys aren't familiar, and we'll be talking about the non-tenders, like, next. We're talking about that very shortly. But Kyle Schwarber got non-tendered. Albert Almora got non-tendered, which are both guys I've gotten their autograph. I met Albert Almora,
Flex.
yeah, had to get in the flex, but it just makes it sad. Both guys that I grew up watching. Schwarber was obviously a beast, but injuries kind of held him back. The fact that he couldn't really hit over 230 held him back for the most part. But
That'll do it.
Yeah, I love both those guys, and they always will. And then the more shocking news was the Cubs play-by-play guy, Len Casper, who's been doing it, God, for I think 20 years, as long as I've lived. He stepped down, and he's leaving to do radio broadcasting for the White Sox. A stab in the gut, if you will. Very tough to take in, because I love these guys. Len and JD, the Cubs play-by-play guys for TV, are, I'm a Cubs fan, obviously, but they're two of the best play-by-play guys in baseball. They're great. And now it's like he leaves, and things are really dismantling, if you will, for the Cubs. Theo, Schwarber, Almora, Len Casper. It's a lot of pieces falling apart, but let's talk about these non-tenders, and I'll read the list. Just a few of the guys. Kyle Schwarber for the Cubs, Hanser Alberto for the Orioles, Eddie Rosario from the Twins, Brian Goodwin from the Reds, Adam Duvall from the Braves, Matt Weisler, I think that's how you say it, from the Twins, and David Dahl from the Rockies. Which of these was most surprising to you? I know, Ori, what do you think about the Hanser Alberto one to start off, I guess, because he's an Orioles guy. He's actually been pretty good. He's a guy who, I was looking at his stats, and he strikes out really, he does not strike out a lot. He strikes out 13% of the time. This year,
that is rare.
He only walked 2% of the time. So he is a very aggressive hitter as the statistics show. He was pretty good. Ori, what do you think about him now not being an Oriole?
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like that was probably going to be the case. The Orioles are definitely in deep rebuild mode. And I think Alberto has, enough talent to help a winning team.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think that's why he's not on the Orioles. But just for our listeners, Sammy, kind of explain what a non-tender is. I think, some people might not know what that is. So go ahead and explain that.
Yeah, so the non-tender is it's kind of confusing, and I've still been learning about it, but basically what it is for these guys that are still in arbitration, because before a certain year, before a certain service time in the MLB, you're still on arbitration.
Before you hit free agency, the couple years leading up to that.
Yes, yeah. So before that, your arbitration, and the team has to tender you a deal for there to be an arbitration hearing. But if the team doesn't offer you a deal, that's what we like to call a non-tender. And December 2nd, 3 days ago, was the deadline. So if teams don't offer or tender you a deal by that day, you are an unrestricted free agent. So that's what happened with all these guys. And technically a team could re-sign them as a free agent, but for a lot of these guys, it basically guarantees that they're going to be playing for a new team next year. And for Kyle Schwarber, he was the biggest on the list. And as outsiders, non-Cubs fans, for you guys, what do you think of this? Because for me, I think in a normal year with normal financial situations, the Cubs would have tendered a contract to Kyle Schwarber.
Oh, yeah. And it raised my eyebrows a little bit. I think the big three names on this list is Kyle Schwarber, Eddie Rosario, and David Dahl. David Dahl is coming off
a horrible year.
A horrendous. Gary Sanchez-esque season.
Worse than Gary Sanchez. Jeez.
I mean, that's hard to do, but he managed to do it. But if you just go, let me just take a peek at his baseball reference here. If you look, he hit 183 this season. He had a 470 OPS. That's awful. But if you look at what he did in 2019, he was really good. I mean, he had an 877 OPS.
That's a pretty big drop.
302, 15 home runs, nothing to write home about. But 877 OPS is crazy. I mean, he's a guy, and I think there's a lot of guys that struggled uncharacteristically. Javier
Javier Baez, basically every
David
player on the
Dahl.
Cubs.
Yeah, Chris Bryant. You can throw Gary Sanchez in there also. I just think there's a lot of people that we're going to see return to form in 2021. And I think Eddie Rosario is a guy who he's always been good. He has mashed in his career.
Oh my God, one of the
he
most
hit
underrated
home
free
runs.
agents now.
I mean, it's very surprising too because the Twins window is now. And
Yeah,
he's a component on that team. He hit 13 home runs in the shortened season, which is pretty ridiculous.
I mean, that might be the most surprising one to me.
He hit 32 home runs last season. He had over 100 RBIs. He hit 276, and he had an on the dot 800 OPS.
I mean, that's one of the more surprising ones to me. Him and Schwarber, especially him, because like you said, the Twins window is now, and this is a guy who's at an 8+ OPS before this Corona season, the past 3 seasons, and he was 792, right below the 800 mark. That's really good stuff. He's an above-average hitter and a guy who's hit for significant power his entire career. He's not a good left fielder by any means, but you're in the AL, you can kind of switch him at DH, and you have the freedom to do that. But I don't understand it for the Twins. And another guy the Twins let go that was pretty shocking to me was Matt Weisler. Now, this is a guy, I think that's how you say the name. Pronunciation is not my strong suit, if you guys haven't already noticed. But this is a guy who, I mean, he's still a pretty young player, and he had a great year. 25 innings out of the bullpen, a 1 WAR, a 1.07 ERA. And for a team that, you have a good offense and having a good bullpen would be a good thing to have, I don't understand why you let a pretty young pitcher like that, let's see what his age is. Yeah, he's only 28 years old, had this great year in 25 innings. Why not keep him? He's probably not too much of a cost, I would not imagine. But the Twins have made some questionable moves with Rosario and the young reliever Weisler. And another interesting non-tender before we move on, Adam Duvall, who had some pretty monstrous years in Cincinnati before he came to Atlanta. And he had a good year again in Atlanta. He was one of the better players on a stacked team. 833 OPS, 16 home runs. His batting average, nothing to write home about, 237. But I think Duvall's a guy that a lot of winning teams are going to be looking at. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, he's a great hitter, as you mentioned, great power hitter. 16 home runs in the shortened season is pretty crazy. So he definitely has the power. He's a great guy for a winning team to put in as a DH or, just a guy that can really hit. For all those teams that need kind of a guy for power, Adam Duvall is, definitely a name to look out for. But I kind of want to circle back here to the Twins because they really, really confuse me. Like, I'm extremely confused with these moves. My thoughts on them are just like, first of all, Jack said you're in win now. So the Eddie Rosario move doesn't make sense. And then Matt Weisler, that doesn't make sense either. If you're trying to win, you have to have a good bullpen.
He had a great year. He was one of the best in baseball last year.
Exactly. He had a great year, and he's not expensive. It's not like these guys are going to be insanely expensive.
I mean, Rosario could have been a little bit, but
Rosario could have, yeah. But
Rosario could have been. Yeah, Weisler. I mean, he's only played for 5 years. I'd imagine. I don't know what his contract was previously. I would imagine that's going to be a $4 to $5 million contract, depending on how arbitration turns out. I don't think it's going to be too much. Why, man? I mean, and even if it is a lot, I'd pay a lot for a guy who had a 107 ERA last year.
Yeah, I think easily. A lot of people would.
And a lot of teams will. I mean, as a Cubs fan with a shaky bullpen, I look at an opening like that and I'm like, oh, look at that, Jed Hoyer, our GM. But, I think a lot of winning teams are going to be picking up on a lot of these two guys at the Twins, surprisingly, shockingly, non-tendered. Anything else you guys want to talk about with these non-tenders before we move on?
Nothing really. Let's just go on now to Jack's dumb Twitter take. And we're going to transition to football here in a minute. So this has to do with a certain player, but I have to ask the question before. Out of all the healthy quarterbacks in the NFC East, list them. Right now, you got Andy Dalton. We're going to say Daniel Jones is healthy just because he's not like, it's not like a year-ending injury. He'll be back.
I mean,
He was practicing this week. He's doubtful for the game, but he'll be back in like maybe next week, maybe in a week. Like he's not done for the year. So we're going to say him. So Andy Dalton, Daniel Jones. You know, we'll throw in Alex Smith and then Carson Wentz. Out of those four, how would you rank them?
Well, I'd go Daniel Jones is, I guess if he's healthy, he's probably, I guess he's the best
Yeah.
of those guys. I mean, I guess.
Hey, don't sleep on Daniel Jones. He's been
yeah, I
playing
mean,
really good lately.
He has been playing good football.
Really good lately.
And then second, Andy Dalton. Third, Carson Wentz.
Alex Smith has not. He's been playing good as of late. Like
Third,
good.
Alex Smith. I have to put Carson Wentz at the bottom because he's failed that team. I mean, and the Eagles, there's no way they're winning that division anymore. It's a tough schedule. They play the Packers next week.
I think it's a two-man
tough
race
sledding.
in the NFC East between the Giants and the Washington football team.
Who would have thought? Who would have
but
thought?
you-
At the beginning of the year, they were easily at the bottom of that division for us. It was a race between the Eagles and the Cowboys. We both thought we're going to be 9 to 11 win football teams.
I had the Cowboys.
I mean, that's crazy that
Really
the
good.
Giants have a chance to be the 4 seed in the playoffs.
That's
I mean,
crazy.
that's wild. And the football team.
So, Ori, would you make any changes to what Sammy just said?
I agree with most of it, but in second place, I would put a Jalen Hurts. That's just me personally.
Jalen Hurts over
Andy Dalton
Alex Smith and Andy Dalton.
and Carson Wentz. Yeah,
Like 5 snaps.
I don't care, man. I believe in Jalen Hurts a lot. I think he's gonna get his shot, so we're gonna see what he's made out of.
He will.
I mean, I could spend a long time talking about how much I disagree with that, but I'm not going to. I'm going to get to my Jack Stump Twitter take.
Let's hear it.
So, before the season started, would you agree that Carson Wentz was the best quarterback in the division? You could say Dak Prescott.
Dak Prescott. I think
I mean,
it's Dak
Carson
Prescott.
Wentz was an MVP caliber quarterback.
In 2017.
But I'm saying, like,
I think Dak Prescott on a consistently level was probably going to be the best.
okay, but
quarterback.
we could all agree that Carson Wentz, you thought he was by far a franchise quarterback. Great.
I thought he was a
quarterback.
good player with potential.
Yes. So Parker B. Luffy says at that dude TB_, Josh Allen making the hashtag NFL top 100 list over Carson Wentz shows how stupid the players are at evaluating each other.
Maybe not. I mean, Josh Allen's the MVP now, or MVP candidate, and Carson Wentz is the schlub.
Duffy. The schlub.
Schlub.
I like that. Word pod.
Schlub. I don't know. But yeah, so moving on, that was football. We're going to talk some football. NFL Week 12, and we're just talking about the Giants.
Football. We're going to talk some football.
We're going to talk some more football. Giants took the lead in the NFC East. And you know what's funny? It's it's so entertainingly bad that I'm just every week I'm glued to the NFC East race. It's so horrible. But I mean, technically that is the closest and most exciting division to watch in football right now.
I mean, it's ridiculous. I really nobody predicted this. This I think is the craziest thing that's happened in this NFL season.
It's the funniest for sure.
I mean, it's definitely the funniest. That's true. It's crazy that the Giants right now are in the playoffs if the season ended, and a team like the Ravens are not. It's pretty funny how things work out.
Football's crazy.
Yeah, football is really, really crazy.
Yeah. So, and I know we had this conversation a few weeks ago in a very heated fashion, and I am here to make a public statement. All right.
Let's hear it.
I think I was wrong.
Can you say that one more time? I didn't hear you.
I believe that I may have been wrong, but there's still a chance.
And
If you guys don't know what happened,
and that I am the greatest football analyst on the show, that would be nice.
no, because you also said that you thought the Eagles would win. So
Yeah.
well, let's not get too excited here. But I said the Cowboys could win the NFC East. After watching on Thanksgiving Day, what happened? No way, man. I mean, I thought that's a game. We talked about it 2 weeks ago. I thought that was a game that the Cowboys could compete, and I thought that's a game they could win. You're at home. They do have some fans, so there is an advantage there. You're at home against the Washington football team, who is, just as bad as you are. It's a winnable game. I mean, Andy Dalton did not do good. Your defense, obviously, is horrible. Your defense is horrible. They disappointed me. I mean, I thought that was a winnable game. I think I was wrong. I mean, their upcoming schedule is nothing to fret about. They do have the Ravens this week. After that, Bengals, 49ers, Eagles, Giants. They still have a small chance, but after that Thanksgiving game, I think it's time to apologize and say I was wrong. I think I was wrong.
But right now, would you agree with me here that the Giants are playing the best football in the division?
Yes, and they have been all year. There have been a lot of games. I mean, the Giants could have 5-6 wins right now.
The Giants easily could have.
I know the game against the Bears.
They outplayed the Bucks. They outplayed the Eagles in the game that they lost to them. They were right there to the end with the Rams. They lost to the Steelers by less than 10 points.
They got robbed by the refs in the Bears game.
The only game that they were like outmatched in and got blown out was the 49ers game. And what's kind of crazy about this division is you watch the Cowboys play on Thursday night. You're thinking they have an easy schedule. They might be able to win the division. You watch them play. Oh, no, they're putrid. They are horrifying. They cannot win the division. Then you see that maybe the Eagles. You watch them play. Terrible. Their offensive line is Swiss cheese. Their quarterback is throwing to Seattle defenders like he's wearing a green jersey. Awful. They can't win the division. You see the Washington football team play. I mean, they can't possibly win the division. And then you see the Giants play. Daniel Jones goes down. You're like, I mean, Colt McCoy isn't going to lead this team to a division title. So it's like, I mean, we better are we going to relocate the Chiefs to the NFC East here? Because some teams got to win the division. I don't know if any team is capable of it.
I think the Giants are the most capable. I mean, you look defensively, they're not as bad as I think we thought they were going to be. I think they've held some pretty good offensive teams within decent margins, and I think offensively they've been fine. I mean, think about that. A Saquon-less since week 2, a Saquon-less Giants are right now on the verge of making the playoffs. That's crazy. And there are a lot of winnable games. Like we said, I mean, they could have 6-7 wins right now. Possibly. I mean,
7's a stretch. Maybe 5. I'd say 5 wins. 6. They easily could have lost the Washington football game if they won. They could have lost the Bengals game. Like they did get not lucky, but they were in some close games that went their way also. And my thing is, the Giants are in a really good position, not just for this year, but in the future. Because you look at it, Daniel Jones, you're not 100% sold that he's the franchise quarterback, but he's gone 3 straight games now without a turnover.
He's convincing you.
He's extremely athletic. He's one of the fastest quarterbacks in the NFL. He is. Yeah. He makes great plays. He's not just a game manager. He makes great plays. Yeah. I think you got Saquon coming back next year. That's going to help you. Andrew Thomas has been playing a lot better as of late. Like a lot better. He's no Mekhi Becton, but he's playing a lot better as of late. Darius Slayton is playing amazing. Sterling Shepard is playing amazing. Evan Ingram might be the most maddening player in the NFL. It's like he'll make a crazy one play. You'll look at him and you're like, he's a defensive nightmare. He runs like a 4-4 tight end. He makes crazy catches. Safeties can't guard him. Linebackers can't guard him. And the next play, he's fumbling away in the red zone. Their defense, you got guys like Blake Martinez, James Bradbury.
Like Martinez, great signing.
Tackle leader, Jabril Peppers. I mean, they're a good defensive football team. Their defense is good. You have Joe Judge, who you got to be
good is a little much.
Coach, they are good. If you look at the advanced metrics, they are in the top half of defenses. Like they are a good defense. They're not great, but they are a good defense. Their defense is the reason why they are winning football teams. They have an identity now. Their identity is a defense. And you think you got your quarterback now. You know you got your coach. And just a playoff experience. If they can just get in, even if they get blown out in the playoff game, which if they end up playing the Bucks, I don't think that's true. If they end up playing the Bucks or if they end up playing the Cardinals The Cardinals have been playing awful lately. Who's to say that the Giants can't beat the Cardinals in a playoff?
I am. I'm saying that. No
The Cardinals
way.
just lost to the Patriots when Cam Newton threw for like 88 yards.
If the winner,
Kyler Murray is clearly hurt. Now, I don't want to get into this because it's all speculation up to this point. We don't know who they're going to be playing, even if they win the division, because that's not guaranteed yet, even though they have the best chance to. I think they're in a really good position for the future. I think they will beat the Cardinals. I want to go out on a limb here. So the Giants' next 3 games, Seahawks this week, that's a loss. Then you got the Browns, I think, or the Cardinals. You got the Cardinals, and then you have the Browns. I'm going to say that they're going to win one of those 2 games. They're going to go 1-1 with the Browns, and because all they have to do is go 1-3 in their next 4 games, and then beat the Cowboys, and they win the division. But I think they're going to beat either the Browns or the Cardinals, if not both. That is my statement. That is my hot take.
I mean, I understand what you're saying about the regular season. That's possible, but like when it comes to the playoffs, if the Giants are the winner of the NFC East, if the winner of the NFC East
clearly hurt,
if the winner of the NFC East makes the playoffs, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I would not believe.
I think the winner of the NFC East is going to make the playoffs, Sammy.
Oh, it's going to win a game in the play. They're going to make the playoffs, obviously.
I know.
It's going to win a game in the playoffs.
I don't think they will, but I think they're going to compete. You can't tell me that the Giants are not going to – I don't think they're going to get blown out. They haven't been blown out in a single game all season except for the 49ers game. Why would they get blown out in a playoff game?
Because they're playing a competent football team?
They didn't get blown out against the Steelers. Would you say that the Steelers are a competent football team?
But they're not a powerful offense. You're talking about the
Steelers
Cardinals.
are undefeated.
No, but they don't win because they have a powerhouse offense. They win
The
because
Steelers? Yes, I know that,
but
but they still like the Steelers are one of the best teams in the NFL.
I mean,
for sure. I'm not saying they're not, but I'm saying when you go up against the Cardinals who have Kyler Murray and all those weapons, there's no way.
But Kyler Murray is clearly not healthy. He's clearly not healthy. He has been awful. They lost to the Patriots. The Giants are a much better football team than the Patriots. I think that I just don't like the way the Cardinals lead the league in penalties. Their offensive line, the penalties that the offensive line has is atrocious. There's
That's
a holding
true.
call every other play. Kyler Murray is not playing good. He's playing worse than Daniel Jones right now. Just with it.
well, I mean, Daniel Jones
took away his running. I mean, but he was healthy up to this week. He can't run. They've taken that out of his arsenal because of his injury. So basically, he's a pocket quarterback now, and he's not a good pocket quarterback right now.
Too
he's
short.
Not.
I mean,
He can develop into one, but he's not. I don't think that the Cardinals are that much of a better team than the Giants. I really don't.
well, let's move on now. We had some other games this week. Derrick Henry did it again. And I feel like every other week we're saying this. We're talking about how great Derrick Henry was. And it's true. He had this amazing game. He had 3 touchdowns against the Colts. And that before that, the division was tied. After that, it is the Titans with the advantage. Now, do you guys think after a brutal loss like that, where you get just, your run defense is absolutely obliterated, do you think the Colts can recover and win that division? Do you think they can make the playoffs? Because the AFC, it's no easy task to get into the playoffs. Right now, they're the 7th seed, but you got some teams like the Raiders and the Ravens right on your tail. So, do you think the Colts are going to win the division? Do you think they're going to make the playoffs?
Well, I mean, it's going to be – it was a big game against the Titans, and that kind of really shifted the feel of the season because if the Colts go out there and they beat the Titans, they will have, a pretty big win streak of 3 games. They beat the Packers. They beat the Titans 2 weeks prior. So if they had 3 straight wins, I think they lock up that division just because of the momentum that they have. I'm looking at the rest of their games. They have 2 games against the Texans, so we can give those as victories. Against the Raiders, they'll probably win that game. And then they have the Jags and the Steelers. So they could go 4-1 in this. In these last few games.
And then, I'm looking at the Titans right now, and, they don't have too tough of a schedule either. Game against the Browns, which is a home game for the Titans, could be closer than people imagine. I think probably a win for them. The only tough game they have left after that is the Packers. They played the Jaguars, Lions, and Texans. Both teams with easy schedules, and I think it's really going to be about who can execute because – these teams are supposed to beat these bad teams, obviously. But a lot of times that's not the case. A lot of times, these bad teams pull off surprises. Who's gonna limit mistakes, and who's gonna execute? And I think that's gonna be the Titans, because we saw what they did last year at the end of the season. When they didn't win the division, but they made the playoffs. I think they have much better coaching than the Colts had. I love both those coaches, Vrabel and Reich, but they're both great guys. But at the end of the day, the Titans are not only a better, more talented team, but a more disciplined team, and a team that I'm more confident that is going to execute.
Yeah, I'll totally agree with that.
Yeah, and another big game this week, 49ers beat the Rams for the Rams' first home loss of the year. Can the 49ers get back into the playoff race for the NFC? Because they're 5-6. They're tied with some other teams like the Bears and Bears and the Vikings. They're right behind the Cardinals, who are 6-5. Do you think they can get hot towards the end of the year and sneak into the playoffs? Because it's a huge win to beat the Rams.
I don't know. I think with Jimmy Garoppolo being out, I don't know if you can really trust Nick Mullins. There are some bad teams though in that are in the hunt for the playoff race. So their defense has been playing pretty good recently. They are getting some guys back like Raheem Mostert, who came back last week, I'm pretty sure. And who's to say they can't compete for the division or not the division, a playoff spot?
I think the big game is going to be Week 16 at Cardinals for the 49ers. That's going to be a huge game for them, obviously, because I think those are still going to be teams kind of competing for the 7th seed in the NFC, a divisional game, of course. I think the winner of that game is going to get into the playoffs, because the Cardinals have been very discouraging. They have lost, 3 straight or something. Kyler Murray hasn't looked himself after the injury. So I honestly,
you know how I feel about
the winner of that game. The winner of that game, I think, is going to get into the playoffs. The 49ers, we have to remember, they were the NFC representative in the Super Bowl last year. They're still a talented team. And, yeah, you don't have your guy, Jimmy Garoppolo. But Mullins is good enough. He's a game manager enough where your offense can score points. And I think your defense is talented enough, like they were last year. They're still that defense. They haven't been, but they still can be, I should say. 49ers can get into the playoffs, I believe. But it depends on the Cardinals, too. If the Cardinals get back into things with the Rams, if they win a game against the Rams, and they play the Giants and Eagles, if they win some of those games, it'll be tough for the 49ers. But at the end of the day, that Week 16 game is going to be the big decider, I believe.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think the main reason they're back into this race is because the Cardinals have not been playing very well of late, and
Yes.
The 49ers, they're on the trend up. So it should be, really good for the 49ers, and I think that they have a really good shot at sneaking in. I think they're the best of the teams that are not in the picture right now. I think they're definitely better than the Bears at 5-6.
Yes.
So I think they have the best shot out of, the teams that have yet to, that are not in the playoffs right now. So I think the future is bright for the 49ers, but they have to play very, very well on offense. They have to execute in order to win, because that defense is going to be good, but scoring points is how you win games. And if they can, I think they have a really good shot at making playoffs.
The Bears are awful, but
yeah, they suck.
Dude, don't even get me started.
I just wanted to throw them in there.
yeah, but I let me pose a question to you guys. Do you think the Steelers are going to go 16-0?
No.
Or not 16-0,
Yeah.
17-0?
16.
16-0.
16-0. Not a math pod.
No, there's no way. I think they have too many tough games left. Bills, Colts, and Browns are going to be teams that are going to give them fights. And, don't even rule out the football team. They're playing the Washington football team this week. They have a chance to beat them. A small chance, but, with a team that has had a lot of iffy wins, you're 11-0, which I give you full credit for, and hooray, that's awesome. Definitely not one of the better ones. They're a lot of referee-given wins, a lot of kind of fluky sort of things, but you're 11-0. I don't think you're going to finish 16-0, but, you've already won 11 games. That's a great feat in and of itself. The Steelers, shouldn't really be worried about winning 16 games. If I'm a Steelers fan, I don't really care. because like I'd rather lose to the Bills or the Colts than lose in the playoffs. If maybe you take some of those games off when you already know you're in, rest up some guys for the playoffs, then you're ready to compete. I don't think you want to go 16-0, to be honest. You know what I'm saying? Like that sounds.
Although, I mean, when you have a chance to do something special like that, you take full advantage. But let's go on now to our Week 13 picks. Now, Sammy has made up ground and has actually passed me. I am in third place.
Let's go.
Ori is sitting pretty in first place, and I'm gonna make my picks first since I am indeed in last place. So we go last to first here. Now, I feel very solid about my picks. So I'll start with my lock. I have the Raiders over the Jets. Now, I know the Raiders played awful last week, but you're playing against the Jets. So it's basically two teams playing against no team.
Yeah. Now we were talking about.
I mean,
we're talking about can the Steelers go 16-0? Will the Jets go 0-16?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
No way.
No way.
They are so bad.
They are
Yeah,
awful.
man.
So I had the Raiders over the Jets as my lock,
Fair
and
enough.
you know I think it's pretty it kind of represents the word lock well because it is a lock.
Yeah, that's fair. I'll go, I guess, since we're doing it in order of where you are in the standings. By the way, I am thrilled to be in second place for the first time all year.
Yeah, give them a week.
Don't get too comfortable.
He'll
with
be
that
back
first.
in third
I
place.
am coming.
We'll be back in third.
I am coming for you. But yeah. So my lock pick is going to be. I've done this a lot actually, but the Packers, because I watched Sunday night, unfortunately, against the Bears, which was just brutal
Does
as a
it
Bears
pain
fan.
you to take the Packers?
Brutal. It does, but you know what? You got to win. You got to make some sacrifices here.
He's making sacrifices. This is real pain.
It's real pain, but the real pain was Sunday night, which the Packers played extremely well. Aaron Rodgers showed that, which he has all year, but he really, really showed he's still elite because the Bears defense is a good defense, and he just completely destroyed them. Packers are a good lock pick for this week. They're playing the Eagles this week, and the Eagles are a team just as cold as any other team has been hot. You know, they've played some good teams these past few weeks. The Packers, another good team they're going to be playing. So I think it's a very reasonable lock pick to think the Packers, a great team, will beat the Eagles, a horrible team.
Yeah, that's a good pick right there. I have the Chiefs here. I took the Chiefs because well, really, I don't think I need to explain myself too much here. They're the Chiefs. They have Patrick Mahomes. He's been insane.
MVP.
MVP right now, for sure. I mean, I don't think anyone is going to beat him for that MVP race. And they're against the Denver Broncos, who, yeah, they didn't have a quarterback when they lost big to the Saints, but I don't really think a quarterback changes much when it comes to the Broncos. Drew
We
Lock
didn't even talk about that, but that was quite unfortunate.
That was funny. I
You're
mean,
in there, man, or you can suit up. You're tall.
yeah, I mean, I
Yeah,
could have
man.
played quarterback for the
Better
Broncos.
than Kendrick Helton or whoever played.
Oh
Yeah,
my
I don't
God,
even
man.
know. The Broncos, like the quarterback that went in, he played like one game for Wake Forest and had more completions to the Saints than he did to his own team. I think he was like 1 for 9 with a pick. So like
1
he
for
had the
9
same
with
amount.
he was 1 for 9 with 2 interceptions.
Yeah, 2 interceptions.
Yeah,
So he
man.
had. So I mean, absolutely horrible. I think it was kind of unfair to let them play that game.
Yeah, I mean,
Because.
well, I don't think the Broncos were going to win anyway. But
It's
like,
also
Well, no,
unfair to let
that's
the
true.
league.
I think that if it wasn't the Broncos and it was, let's say, the Saints, for example, or a team maybe contending for.
You saw it with the Ravens, sort of. Like, not to the same extent as the Broncos, but the Ravens were, I mean, in awful circumstances.
Awful
They kept-
circumstance. I
and they
mean,
kept
Trace
delaying the
McSorley.
game and delaying the game and doing whatever it takes for the Ravens to play. And, I mean, the Ravens
Trace McSorley pulled through though. Let's just
Yeah, I mean,
let's
I
just be
think-
sure about that.
I think the Broncos game and the Ravens game should have been canceled.
Mm.
Broncos don't have a quarterback, and the Ravens not only didn't have our starting quarterback, we had like 20 to 30 guys on the COVID list.
Yeah.
About Trace McSorley.
The fact that the Ravens compete in that game is a great and encouraging thing for Ravens fans. I
Yeah,
will
that's
say.
true. I kind of wanted to talk about that. But anyway, I'll go back to my pick here. Pick the Chiefs against the Broncos. Should be a pretty simple win for me. underdog, I guess I'll do it because I kind of want to.
Fair
I'm
enough.
taking the Lions, who I did not.
Oh,
What a shot at
Underdog.
Sammy Krempstein here.
Lions
Yeah.
playing the
Oh
Bears
my
this week.
God.
They are playing the Bears, and I never thought the Bears would be favorites, but they are now, and I'm definitely going to take advantage. The Bears are
Pain.
pretty abysmal. I remember when they were 5-1, and Sammy was like, "We're the real deal." I said, "You guys are imposters," and here we are picking the Lions over the
Look.
Bears. I feel good about it. I'm trying to kind of lengthen my lead that I have on Sammy currently. I do have 2
Yeah.
games on you.
Yeah, you have 2 games on me. Yes. And
Yeah,
you have
so
3 games
let's
on
try to
Jack.
make that 4 after this week, and then kind of
Okay.
coast to the end. But yeah, that's my upset pick. Sammy, who you got?
So I have the Cardinals this week. And I know we were just talking about the Cardinals and how we doubt them and will the 49ers overtake them in the playoffs, blah, 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 blah. They're playing the Rams this week. And this is actually kind of a hot take. They're at home. And I think this is a game that is a must-win for the Cardinals because you're struggling. You think you're a playoff team. I think they are talented enough to be a playoff team. And you're playing the Rams, a team that also just came off a tough loss to the 49ers. I think it's a perfect opportunity for a struggling team to take advantage and execute and win a football game. And I think if they lose, it'll be tough for them to come back and get into the playoffs. But, NFC, it's not too strong, so anything could happen. But I think the Rams, really tough game last week against the 49ers, a winnable game. They should have won it. They didn't execute. And I think the Cardinals are going to take advantage of the fact that the Rams are cold. So Cardinals are my upset pick. Hot take, but I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it. Jack, how about you? What's your upset pick?
So my upset pick, which I think is the easiest upset pick of all times, is the Bills over the 49ers. I'm flabbergasted that the Bills actually are the underdog against the 49ers, but they are. According to DraftKings, they are being given 1 point against the 49ers, which does make them the underdog, so it's a pick 'em. So, I mean, I don't even have to explain this. I think this is such a clear and obvious pick.
Yeah.
But let's go on now.
Well, before that, just the 49ers are actually going to be playing in Arizona. Remember? Because San Francisco is locked down. They can't do
That's
contact
true.
sports.
Also,
because
and
of
you don't
COVID.
know how that's going to affect them. But let's go on now to the segment that needs no introduction. Everybody's favorite segment, Ori's Amazon product of the day. Ori, take it away.
All right, boys. So today we have yet again another animal.
Uh-oh. Ori, you are breaking up.
Just
You
restart
guys
that.
like mammal products?
Ori is breaking up.
Ori.
Ori's
I'm
breaking
breaking
Okay.
up.
Wait.
3, 2,
Hello?
1.
Wait.
3,
Ori.
2, 1. Ori, take it away.
Wait. Am I good now?
Yeah, now you're good. Ori, just start. You can start.
Okay. All right, guys. So for today's Amazon product of the day, we are doing something not out of the ordinary. We are doing another animal product. You guys
All right.
love the animal.
I love
products.
the animal products. You know what? I love
I'm
them.
coming at
I
you
love
guys
them.
with another one.
You know what's so ironic that Ori hates animals.
That is true. I really dislike dogs and cats and really most animals that are domesticated.
He's
I
a
do not
despicable
like.
human being.
What?
Yeah, you're a despicable human being.
I don't think that makes me despicable. Actually, in my chemistry class, my teacher asked me, it had 9 pictures of a dog making different faces, and it was like, tell me what number you're feeling today. And I was like, I will not associate myself with any of these pictures because I hate dogs. And then the whole class started roasting me. So
No,
I don't know.
that's
I
kind of
felt
tough, though. I mean,
I don't know. Well, anyway, I'm trying to make the people that have horrible dogs, I'm trying to make their life a little bit easier here. So today we got a fun one. It is $10 plus $6 shipping, so $16. I won't tell you guys the rating. I'll let you guys guess. But the product is a pet dog umbrella. All right, so let me explain the product first. It is an umbrella that you hook on to the dog's collar so that they can run around in the rain protected by the umbrella. Because the umbrella is held by a leash that is on the dog's collar. It's
Okay.
quite the inventive product. Very, very interesting. So what do you guys think? It got 109 ratings. What is it out of 5?
3.
4.5.
4.5 and 3. It is 3.4 out of 5. So Sammy wins this one.
I win.
Boys, what do you guys think about it? Your dog can now go by itself in the rain without getting wet.
I mean, have you ever heard of a
trying to
jacket
I
or a
think
towel?
that his head will still get wet.
Yeah, but I mean, hoodie. My dog had a hoodie.
Your dog gets a hoodie?
You have
That's
a hoodie
awesome.
for your dog?
That's
Yeah.
great.
When he was
Oh my
younger,
goodness.
not anymore. Not
By the way,
anymore.
if you are watching on YouTube, I will definitely put a picture up so you can see what this looks like. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're listening currently, go watch our YouTube because you'll see the picture of this amazing product. But yeah, it seems useful. So you just let your dog go out by itself?
Now, what are the odds
Yeah.
this product actually works? Like 2%
Well,
chance?
I mean, I looked at some of the
Yeah,
ratings.
what do some of the ratings say? That's the question.
Yeah. So some of the ratings do say that it is like, a piece of junk. It's super cheap.
But we disregard those, right?
One review even said that the umbrella doesn't close. So when she tried to return it, she had to have a massive box, and then it was so much money extra for shipping that she decided to keep it. So obviously there are gonna be people that are butthurt, but this is a great product in my opinion. Your dog can now go out carefree if they don't like the rain. They can now go walk. It's pretty good.
Now, I have a conspiracy theory here. Ori, we know of Ori's dislike of animals. I think he is touting this product because he wants your dog to suffer. He wants your dog to get wet. So he knows it's bad. This is very planned out. I think that's what's happening here. I'm not sure. This is not proven in fact.
I mean, we already
It's
know,
a
though.
theory.
What has been confirmed is that Ori's a bad guy. So we know that.
That's unfortunate.
I mean,
You know,
the only thing I will say, Sammy, is that I really did want people to buy the dog dryer, which
will like
If-
I don't think
doesn't that like
anybody
electrocute your
wants
dog or
dryer,
something?
buddy.
if we do remember, it did some people said it almost cooked my dog. So
Yeah, I think we should get the FBI involved here. I think this is a very, very interesting situation that's going on with Ori.
I do.
Alright,
And,
boys,
and
so
you know,
that-
guys, I'm so proud to say that we had another banger of an episode where we just churn out content, just churn it out.
we do.
And I mean, unfortunately, we will have to say goodbye for today, but we'll be back same time always next week. And we're gonna have another banger of an episode because that's what we do here at Chatter from the Cheap Seats. Sammy, do you have any last words to say to the fine people?
Well, you know what I'm going to say. Another fun episode this time. Really fun. I'd like to thank Brennan again for coming on last time, which was an incredible experience. Great episode, great interview. Definitely check it out. But yeah, other than that, can't wait to keep watching sports other than the Bears and Kentucky, who both have been selling. Not a good time for me to be a sports fan. But yeah, I'll see you guys next week. Yeah, go Bears.
I don't have anything extra to say. Please let us know if you enjoyed it. You can do that through a lot of ways. Check us out on all the social media
Leave a
stuff.
review.
Yeah, all
Leave
that
a
stuff.
review.
Yeah.
And if you're listening now and you haven't checked out the interview with Brennan Davis, definitely go ahead and do that because I think it's really, really interesting. He's a beast of a player, and we did a really, really good interview where we got to really look deep into what it is to be a minor league baseball player. So
One of the
thank you guys
top
for listening.
prospects.
That's all I got.
Great episode. But
Yes.
we had another great episode today, and we're gonna have another one next week. So see you guys next time on Chatter from the Cheap Seats. Ori, take us out.
Bye.